Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll introduce myself. My name is Ramadhan Soleh. I am from TBI 5 class. Here I will explain the intrinsic element in the Laskar Pelangi film. But before explaining the intrinsic elements, I will first explain the synopsis. Elementary school, Rahmadania looks more fragile and sad than some of the state company school. They are corners in a very big irony because their poverty is in the mind of the richest of wealth from state companies that are seen to be exploiting their land. Continuous difficulties hit that school. The school was built on the basis of a century spirit and pioneering work from two teachers, an aging principal, Mr. Harfan Effendi Nur, and a young teacher named Mrs. Muslimah Hafsari, who is also very poor. They tried to maintain the great spirit of education by stumbling. The school, which was almost demolished by the South Sumatra Ministry of Education and Culture school supervisor due to a shortage student was saved thanks to the existence of an idiot who during the entire years never received a report card. And the school, which is supported by donors in this marginalized, is indeed very poor, with dilapidated building, classroom with earthen mats, roofs with holes in them, inadequate benches, and at night used to store livestock. A school that can only pay teachers and principals with only a few kilos of rice. So, the teachers there are forced to provide for their families by other means. The principal usually weeds the garden, and the young teacher received stitches. Even so, a miracle seems to occur every day at a school that from afar looked like a building that was about to collapse. Everything happened because on the first day of first grade, the principal and the young teacher, who only had an escape certificate or Sekolah Kepandaian Putri, had been able to win the heart of 11 poor children there. From time to time, the two of them work hand in hand and correct the 11 children to be confident, there to complete so that they are able to appreciate and position education as an important thing in life. They also did not forget to teach 11 students to be diligent, so not to give up easily and to be brave in the face of difficulties of any magnitude. The two teachers also became very good teachers, so that they produced an intelligent student and they are able to hone the talents of several other students. Mr. Harfan and Mrs. Muslimah didn't forget to teach love to each other, and they really love their student. The two poor teacher then gave nickname to 11 students with the name Laskar Pelangi. The miracle took place when the Muhammadiyah school was led by one of the members of Laskar Pelangi, who managed to win the carnival by defeating the PN school or Perusahaan Negara. The incident of this miracle reached its peak when three children from the member of Laskar Pelangi named Ika, Lintang, and Sahara won the Smart Agile competition that beat the PN and State School. Another achievement which has been stolen by PN School for decades, the dub and a very sad incident hit the Rahmadania school at the time of Lintang, the most genius student in the Laskar Pelangi member had to quit school when he only 3 months left to finish his school. He had to stop because he was the eldest son who had to support the family because at the time his father was died. Blitung was again hit with a great irony because a genius child had to leave school for reason of cost and family income. It was precisely those around him that PN Stima became richer by exploiting his ancestral land. Even though in the early 90s the Rahmadania school was eventually closed because it was no longer able to support itself. But the spirit, integrity, nobility, and perseverance taught by Mr. Harfan and Mrs. Muslima still live in the heart of the Laskar Pelangi. In the end, two teachers were able to feel proud because among the 11 members of the Laskar Pelangi there were successful people's representatives, research and development manager at a large multinational company. Until one got an international scholarship and then did a research at the University of Paris, Sorbonne. Then graduate with a master's degree with a distinction from a leading university in the UK. All of these things are the fruit of moral education and intellectual love that have been instilled by Mrs. Muslima and Mr. Harfan, two great people who may not even have had time to live in their own island at southernmost tip of Sumatra. Alright, intrinsic element will be explained by Putri Ramadhan.
I would like to continue the material about intrinsic elements in Laskar Pelangi movie. First is theme. The theme of this movie is about education. Interest pursued with a story of close friendships between members of Laskar Pelangi, and however, the theme is also combined with economic condition with the economic conditions. And the second is about intrinsic elements plot. This movie used a forward plot because the story is relates to the future. Okay, the third in intrinsic elements is a setting. First, it is place. This movie is the place in this movie is in a school in Gantung village, Belitung, South Sumatra. And other background of place in this movie is such as in house, in beach sites, in caviar, in caves, and also in the market. First is time setting. The time setting is also conveyed in the film in 1974. And the third is about atmosphere. First is set atmosphere when Ikal and friend and also Mrs. Muslima separated from Lintau decide to drop out from the school. And the other atmosphere is happy. The team from Rahmadania Elementary School was able to win from the mathematics competitions. And the last is about anxious atmosphere when Mrs. Muslima was waiting for the registration in Rahmadania Elementary School. In this movie, have so many members from Laskar Pelangi and also from other characters. There are Taprangi, Akyong, Sahara, Ikal, Harun, Borek, Syahdan, Lintang, Mr. Harfan, Mrs. Muslimah, and also Flo. And the last point about intrinsic element from this movie is moral value. Moral value from this movie are: first is don't give up easily with limited circumstances. The second is always be persistent in any activity. The third is stay away from pessimism. The fourth is be patient with all existing conditions. And the last one is strengthen the sense of friendship. Okay, everyone, that's all. A little bit explanations about intrinsic element in Laskar Pelangi movie. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.